What's good, man? It's your boy Benji. We bet balling. We checking out low, man. Legend of winning, man. Stop lying about Bronny James. What are we lying about?
His Lakers gets to play with his father, something that, in all honesty, for being honest with ourselves, should be congratulated, should be celebrated, and that is something that we should humbly do. But the conversations that have been circulating around this entire topic have been convoluted, disingenuous, and quite frankly, I'm just tired of being lied to.
A couple things that no one ever pretended to care about in the NBA are now hot button issues. The nepotism piece of it. I'm old enough to remember Costas and THANASIS being picks in the 50s or the 60th pick.
Watching Nick Wright try to think he has an I gotcha moment while saying some of the most idiotic, dumb shit imaginable is actually going to irritate me. It's going to irk my soul once more. Out the gate, already lying. When THANASIS was being drafted, nobody thought to themselves, oh my God, the team is drafting THANASIS because they're going to have the ability to go get Giannis. And I'm like, that wasn't the case because THANASIS got drafted literally 1 year after Giannis. Giannis is the 15th overall pick in a draft where nobody didn't think there was any real stars similar to this draft. No one thought highly enough of Giannis to try to play three-dimensional chess with a player that they could have just drafted in the year prior when it came to THANASIS. So now that's a lie. But he's going to continue with more lies.
The value of second-round picks. Day before yesterday, Dylan Jones, the 26th pick of the draft, was traded straight up for 5 second-round picks. Last night, the 52nd pick of the draft was traded for cash. About $2 million. Wire it to me. We'll take some in Bitcoin. That's it. No one cares. And now all of a sudden...
Now, Nick Wright is correct. Normally, no one doesn't care.
You just said he was lying.
With the second-round pick, was getting more media coverage than first-round picks. Yeah, you're right. Most people don't care about second-rounders until it pertains to LeBron. Nick Wright is so disingenuous.
Wait, no. I think everybody cares about every pick. It just so happens the big names are the ones that typically garner the most media attention. So there's been plenty of players who have, let's say for example, if they've tortured the college game, or if they were big names going to the overseas game, and we either see their stock fall or we see their stock climb. Regardless or not, if they're talked about, then they're going to be talked about before the draft and after the draft. We've seen LaMelo. Each and every year he had a new challenge presented in front of him. It was whether it was new schools, whether it was new pro teams, whether it was is he going to be able to get drafted. There was a new conversation surrounding LaMelo. So prior to the draft, after the draft, we've seen players go overseas and they were top ranked players in their class. As they go overseas, they'd be talked about, and once the draft hits, whether they slide or rise, that he talked about. Bull was a presumed top pick in his high school days. He went to college. Had some good games, and he was still presumed to be a top pick. Once he slid in the draft, it was something that was discussed. There's plenty of players that get discussed in the draft because of the attention that surrounds their name. And you should know by now that players that are getting paid because of their name, their likeness, if they're entering the draft, they're gonna be talked about. We're seeing Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese be the topic of discussion without either of them being the best player in the WNBA. But there's power in a name. So ignoring that whole fact is, I think, something that we shouldn't even have this conversation without understanding first.
He's trying to disrupt the disingenuous convos around here, that he's trying to have us believe that it's our fault that we care or people may care about a second-round pick while the media has been covering it for literally months now.
It is our fault. The media would not care about it if it doesn't drive them any traffic. If they keep talking about a random kid that gets a 55 pick and nobody seems to retweet, post, subscribe, follow, read, if it doesn't get clicks, if it doesn't get watch time, if it doesn't generate anything, then we won't care. So because the consumer cares, that makes it relevant.
Now, as if Bronny was a top 3 selection or projected to be top 3 selection in the draft. Y'all were the ones who kept reporting on it as if it was something important. Secondly, Nick...
No! They put it out there, but there was other players that they were talking about. Even at USC was reported on prior to Bronny. They still had a top recruiting class. They were expected to be one of the better teams in college prior to Bronny. Bronny coming, awesome. That just added the cherry on top. But these players that were on that team were discussed prior to Bronny. Sure, a lot of people were the casuals were looking at the game because of LeBron James' son, you had casuals and basketball purists alike that were watching the game and trying to see what Bronny was going to do. But end of the day, there was talent on that team regardless that was drawing eyes.
Right, stop acting dumb. You understand how ratings work. It's the reason why 2 years ago you were in your car crashing out complaining about, oh, you guys think I reported about Jokic? Look at the ratings. You understand how ratings go? So because that's LeBron James' son, the rating goes up. So y'all are going to report it more, which also means that more people are going to talk about it as well. But we'll continue with the lies that you continue to tell.
So the ratings went up because people are intrinsically interested.
People's obvious, transparent dislike or jealousy or whatever of LeBron has colored this whole thing. Because I guarantee you, if in 15 years, Cannon Curry, Steph's youngest, is a fringe NBA prospect, and the Warriors are like, you know what, it's a good story. I think he's a good kid, and he's got a shot. We have him 71st on our board. We'll draft him 58th. The think pieces aren't coming. Instead, people are like, that's awesome. Yeah. That is super dope. This should have been celebrated like that.
And that's something that there's this narrative that's now being pushed by media members that people haven't said anything about nepotism over the last couple of years. Like, y'all never cared about nepotism. Oh my God! Now I'm saying y'all care. People have been talking about nepotism for decades now. That is not a new talking point. That is not a talking point synonymous with LeBron. Nepotism has been discussed and looked down upon for years now. We know this because literally one example you use in THANASIS, who's on the Bucks, not only gets talked down upon amongst players, even the NBA community, NBA fans make lowlights to laugh at the fact that he doesn't belong in the league. We all accept it. But the biggest form of
THANASIS is literally the worst example of this because, okay, sure, you can watch his lowlights. You can make lowlights on every single NBA player. A few months ago, it was viral that people were making lowlights of Michael Jordan. Bro, you can make a lowlight on everybody. Y'all are forgetting THANASIS is 6'10" and athletic. Regardless of whether or not you feel like he's as good as Steph Curry or LeBron James, that's not negate the fact that he is 6'10" and athletic. He's got a physical frame. He doesn't get a lot of playing time anyway, so I don't even understand how this is a crazy discussion because you've got plenty of players in the NBA that we could talk about. Like I continue to make bro. I've said it before, and I will continue to repeat. I don't believe that at a certain number, these guys are above being replaced. So there's a certain portion of the league, or a large percentile of the league, that could be replaced by anybody that's playing professionally, whether it's overseas, G League, etc. So acting as if the guy that's the 14th guy on the bench, as if he's supposed to be the best player, or as if he's receiving some type of crazy benefit because Giannis is his brother. Sure, I'm sure that Giannis wants to play with his brother, and that's a demand he can make to the team as he's getting paid, and he's the centerpiece of that franchise. But his brother still has to hold his own. If Giannis' brother was 6 feet tall and couldn't dribble and shoot, do you think he'd be the NBA? No! He's 6'10". We can put him out there, and he can still make things happen. Is he the best player? No. That's why we're not starting him. That's why he doesn't come off the bench as a sixth man. But when we find opportunities for him, we find opportunities for him because he's not a bum.
Nepotism that constantly gets criticized all throughout the NBA community is the Lakers, the team that just drafted him. Every single time there's an offseason or there's a trade deadline or there's a draft pick that isn't suffice enough for any critic, the default is, oh, them decision makers out in LA, they don't deserve to be there because their daddy put them in there. Dr. Bust put them in. Their daddy. Y'all been sitting here saying the same thing about the Laker organization for basically the last decade now.
Yeah.
So this idea that no one has said anything about nepotism is literally bullshit. It's bullshit.
I haven't noticed, no one has, or there has not been a single person out there saying this is totally unrelated. This is just the player they wanted.
Yeah.
And no one is
saying. Why would somebody say that? Like the Lakers released their video, and it's like Rob talking
I
to
think they're
Bronny,
excited about it.
I know, but there was an element,
performance,
a little bit.
Bronny, everybody's saying this is only for LeBron. We want to celebrate Bronny and make, at least we're going to let him know we actually want you. We actually care about you as a.
And this right here is the problem where When people sit here and talk about it, part of the reason why it's disingenuous is because the reporting of this has been disingenuous. Because even though what Nick Wright is saying could be true, the reality is that leading up to where we were at the draft is that every report surrounding it, when it comes to Rich Paul and how Woj was reporting it, was this idea of, oh, LeBron, he's off the idea. He doesn't even want to. I mean, he doesn't even want to play with his son. And you know what? Matter of fact, if it happens, it happens. I mean, if it happens organically and it just so happens it ends up on the Lakers, then sure. I mean, but at this point, I mean, LeBron doesn't even want to do it. He doesn't want it anymore. He doesn't want it.
As Rich Paul said to me, if it organically happened, LeBron would be head over heels excited to play with Bronny. But in Rich Paul's words, LeBron wants Bronny to be his own man.
Just for him to be able to fulfill his dream, I sat with him in my office and I said to him, Bronny, what's important to you? You know what he said to me? Man, Rich, I just want to hear my name called. He didn't say I want to go number 1, number 15, number 30. He said I just want to hear my name called. That is perspective.
So how do you go from it doesn't really matter, we want it to happen organically, wherever he goes is where he goes, he just wants to be in the league and here's his name, to literally at the draft, you have him, Rich Paul, calling people not to draft Bronny. How do you go from Woj talk?
So I understand that this has been a point that people have been making, but this type of business occurs all the time. You had the guy that was projected to go number 1 for months, declining to work out with the team, the Hawks, that had the number 1 pick. He declined to work out with them. And we're just like, whatever, who cares? We see it year in, year out, that we see top picks choosing to only work out for certain teams. Guys that are on the lottery choosing to work out with certain teams. And there's been plenty of other instances in guys that are on the fringe choosing to work out with certain teams. A lot of guys get plenty of opportunities and they maybe take every shot. Some guys have plenty of opportunities and they maybe kind of deal. Maybe I'll go back for a second one. Maybe I won't. But, like, this happens, right? Now, let's say they made a business call to say we only want Bronny to go to the Lakers. Now, let's make the argument here. Who's to say that another team wouldn't have picked up Bronny at number 30, number 40? Who's to say that? Would that have appeased you?
Talking about, oh, it's not that big of a deal, and then at the fucking draft, he's sitting there saying, you know what, man? What does it matter if he does get drafted by his son? It matters because it contradicts everything that you've been reporting for the last, 2 months now.
Even A talks a lot. There's other stuff going on.
I saw that when he was headed to the draft, that they wanted to be a player that was going to get used by a team. He didn't want to do a two-way deal. That's the stuff that I saw being reported.
Some news, stop whining.
Yeah, it sounds like
Exactly. Okay, fine. I will say
15 seconds.
Right now, Rich Paul's calling teams, don't take Bronny James. He's telling them, do not take him, okay? Saying, don't take him. You take him, he's going to Australia. So he has a plan and he has a place.
But he's not telling the Lakers.
I don't know if he's telling one team.
Mark Tatum.
So you can't sit here and tell me on one hand that, it's just it's coincidental. Whatever happens, happens. But then when we get to the time where it's drafting, you're forcing your way on this team. And part of the reason why you want to force your way on this team is because you would get a level of job security that you might not get with some other team. Not just because your father plays on the team and they're trying to entice him and they're trying to appeal to him, but more specifically, moreover, the Lakers are also one of the very few teams that probably, especially with a second-round pick, that would have been able to give Bronny a fully guaranteed contract instead of a two-way deal that a lot of players who get selected that late in the draft normally receive.
Yes. Additionally, who's to say Bronny will even play for the Lakers? Like, Max Christie wasn't getting a lot of burn for the Lakers last year. And he just signed a big contract with them. Neither was Giles. Master Lewis absolutely was not. Christian Wood. So has been to be a little spotty this year. Definitely Hood Chifino.
This is a serious business, and I don't feel like there would be like a thought of I'm just drafting this kid just because of I'm gonna get his dad. Like I don't think a GM would really allow that.
So even if, yes, the criticism may be unfair, the level of praise and media attention is also unfair as well for someone who has not provided the evidence that he should get more coverage than first rounders. So yes, some of the criticism is unfair. Hell, a lot of it is. But he's going to benefit so significantly just solely because his father is LeBron James. That's life. It's reality. But to sit here and act like you don't understand where the criticism is coming from, like, bro, give me a fucking break.
So are we upset that he's getting coverage? It's LeBron James' son entering the draft. Because there are a large amount of people that want to see him succeed. There's a large amount of people that want to see him fail. And a large amount of people that are just confused either way, are interested in the storyline. Why would that not be covered?
Let's be for real. But now we're going to get into the real conversation of nepotism. And this is where it gets even more disgusting. Because I've never, ever, ever in my life heard anyone try to defend something like nepotism that we all know has a negative connotation around it, especially when people are not qualified. But now because LeBron is doing it, we're going to try to defend nepotism while also effectively complaining about it when other people do it.
And so last night, I hear Woj talk about, I don't want to hear anything around nepotism, right?
Neither do I. And by the way, I saw you get up and I completely agree with you, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's my point I want
to
say
it to the audience again.
So, Big Perk, I feel as if, first off, I think nepotism has a different definition because I've been in a lot of rooms where I've seen it to people who aren't worthy of the opportunity. And if you're not worthy of the opportunity, then I'm going to get angry about the opportunity you were afforded, but I understand how the game is played. 99.9% of the time, none of those people look like us, Perk. And I think when I saw a lot of this chatter online from people that look like us, I'm like, hold on, don't we need more instances of black nepotism, especially when that person has the disposition and the demeanor of somebody that's worthy of being put in that position. Okay. So now
let me stop before Jay Williams continues to just say some dumb shit. People who are trying to defend nepotism, you all sound dumb. Nepotism in and of itself is not a positive. And even though, yes, in a perfect world, you would like to make sure that the person who benefits from nepotism is qualified, 9 times out of 10, they're not qualified. And you even specifically talking about black people, in particular black men, who...
What are you talking about? That's not a thing. That is what? Like you said, if you drive down the street and you see the plumber truck, oh, Johnson & Sons. You go down, there's a restaurant. The Murphy Brothers. There's an auto shop. There's this, there's a that, there's a this, there's a that. Plenty of businesses, whether small or have grown to large scales, have at least some sort of nepotism, because what does everybody work for? To pay bills and to offer opportunities for the next generation. The next generation will subsequently be your kids. If I went and started a job, let's say, let's not even say I'm a business owner. Let's just say I work in an office. I've awarded myself a job, an opportunity to at least put a roof over my head, but also for the next generation, my kids, my cousins, my nephews, my whatever. If they're looking for an opportunity, let me recommend them an opportunity. That is literally riddled all over the world. When you do an application for any job, brother, I know you've been doing content for a long time, but if there's an application available for any job, you have to plug in whether you know someone at the company or if somebody referred you, whether for positives or negatives. This is riddled all over the world.
Probably have been on the wrong side of nepotism more times than not, and then trying to defend it is ridiculous. Let me go ahead and stop this and let everybody know. No, you should not want nepotism. The qualification of the opportunity that is being presented should supersede everything. Sure, in a perfect world, if both candidates...
Sure! You would always want the best person to do the job. But, in what?
Are properly equally qualified, and you know everything aligns, and you have to pick which one. Someone you know you're.
Yo, if I'm in the office and I do the best numbers, and somebody says, "Dang, you're good," because you're good, I trust your expertise, your knowledge, your wisdom. When we make a next hiring, when we make decisions. Well, look, I know my brother wants an opportunity to work for this job. I believe my brother could do well. He's got a learning curve, so as the business, maybe I get his brother based on the merit of me, who is a good employee. Sure, maybe my brother starts off with a lower pay than somebody who might have came in exactly knowing what to do, but might come in headstrong, might come in with their own preconceived notions. We can have a fresh person that we can train up. An opportunity. Win-win for both people. I understand that in many situations this won't happen, and the majority of the time it's just going to be the person that is more qualified will end up coming into the job. But why would you be upset at this? Because the direct inference of this, or the direct translation, is LeBron James is the best. We'll trust your opinion on what we should do coming forwards. If we're going to make the argument that LeBron James had actually anything to do with Bronny being drafted.
Related to, associated with versus a stranger, yeah, you for sure pick that. That's not how the world we live in. Even when people make that argument, I can tell respectfully, you niggas have never ran a job. Even when people make that argument respectfully, you niggas have never ran a business. You niggas have never sat down and tried to hire someone, because there's no such fucking thing as candidates who are equally qualified. That's never existed. And even if they are on paper equally qualified, sometimes someone has more experience.
What? Did you go to school? Bro, you get like any major institution that at least seats over 30,000 people. Brother, they've had hundreds of thousands of applications every year that are literally similarly qualified applicants. They went to school, they participated in the club, they got this GPA. That's going to be the majority of your applications. That's what they talk about standing out when you do college applications. A lot of people don't play sports. A lot of people aren't in clubs. Or a lot of people aren't doing X, Y, and Z in the community. But everybody's coming there to go to school. So you're going to have very similarly qualified candidates. Bro, if you've gone to a graduation, you go to a high school graduation, there's going to be a bunch of people that are over 3.5. Sure, it's a rarity. I guess the majority of the school is probably going to be somewhere in the middle ground, where if you look at an average, C's and D's, majority of the school is going to be around that, right? Sure. But you're going to have a good amount of people that are probably pursuing academic excellence at the next level that are a 3.5 and better. I just said to say, if you look at that pool, transfer it over to the people that are applying to colleges, majority more people are going to be similar in one realm or another. They're going to have 3.5 or better. They're going to be, like I said, either in a club or play sports or do some type of extracurricular activity. How are you sitting there saying that there's people that are not similarly qualified?
Sometimes someone lives closer than the other one. Sometimes someone just gets along more with other people or has some type of people skills that the other person.
How do you know this? On an application, you wouldn't know that. Somebody can live farther and somebody can live closer, but that doesn't necessarily... That's not something that you would directly gauge without asking or at least getting to that point. Like if you looked up somebody's address they plugged in on maybe a profile, you could say, oh, this person's address is an hour away. This person's address is 15 minutes away. But if you ask them, the person that's 15 minutes away might say, I don't have a car. And then the person that's an hour away, yeah, I travel, I get up and every day. You know what I mean? So there's a little bit more to infer. But I understand what you're saying. Long story short, I understand what you're saying.
Doesn't have that can make their managerial responsibility.
But how does this relate to LeBron James?
It's much easier. There are so many things that you would need to go down the list of assessing a quality candidate before you should come to the conclusion, well, you know what? Every single last thing is the same. Then I'm going to pick my sister, my cousin, my brother, my aunt, my uncle, my mother, my father. But that doesn't happen. And the people who argue through this lens, I can tell you never hired anybody. You don't run a business.
Let me say something.
So what do they do? Then what? LeBron James' agent is his childhood friend and former teammate. He's making LeBron James, and any teammate of LeBron James is being referred to Rich Paul. I just cannot understand how you can sit there and make the argument that doesn't happen. The nepotism is riddled all around. Bro, literally on this show, these people are on this show because of who they know, what they've accomplished, and who they're connected to. Whether or not they're qualified. Kendrick Perkins was not an all-star caliber NBA player. He does not come up there and make amazing takes. But he was an NBA player. He knows who that got him on TV.
And I'm going to get a little deep with this, forgive me. And if it gets to a point where I get personal with it, so be it. It's on me. We live in a country where nepotism has taken place with white folks religiously. Forever. We've said little to nothing about it. In the NBA specifically, in a league where at least 70% of the players are black, we've seen nepotism with white folks all over the place. Ownership, executive ranks,
right.
personnel, scouting, coaching. The list goes on and on. We've said little to nothing about it.
And that's your fault. Participating in nepotism because other races or other people may participate in it, especially when it's to the detriment of what they're trying to accomplish. And for us to be like, well, at least they did it, well, we can do it too. You sound like a clown. Become qualified, be prepared for it, and I hope that's what Bronny really is.
You hating! Yo, look. Traditionally, like Low, he typically comes up and he makes some statements and something I agree with. Bro, you hating this video. I ain't lying. You hating. I'll make the argument. Bronny averaged 5 points a game. Oh no, is he NBA ready? Are any of the draft picks NBA ready? We're working every NBA draft pick off the presumption of whether they are possible athletes that can transcend the level that they're at today to possibly make it in the NBA and become this player, that player, this player. I don't think most of these guys are drafting under the premise that these guys will become cornerstones or pillars of their franchise, but they could become prominent pieces. Okay? They could become valuable assets. We can make something happen here. Bronny James, off of his own name, or his dad's name, because he's a junior, was able to become one of the highest paid college athletes of the last year. He's been receiving media attention since he was what? Since he started playing basketball. It was like 12 or something like that. Because of his name. And because there's something to him. He's human. LeBron James was 6'9", 260. High school. 16. Right? 230. Whatever we was going to argue that he was in high school. 225, sure. He was a freak of nature. And then you pair that with his ability to do everything on the court. Shoot, dribble, pass. It was something we've never seen before. He was the chosen one before he even touched the NBA courts. So, him having children is obviously going to be something that excites the rest of us because LeBron James is a billionaire. And we have an opportunity to create our franchise and up the asset and the value of our franchise while simultaneously drawing in something that will bring crowds and possibly offer us opportunities for championships and more money and blah, 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 down the line. Now, like I said, Bronny's a little more human. 6'2", 200, right? But how is he unqualified other than his USC statistics? When in the same breath, we look at plenty of players and we value their statistics, or we look at their statistics and say, oh, but we see plenty of players coming out of Kentucky that don't average, that allow them to leave a lot to be desired when we look at their stats. See, a lot of these guys come out of big schools and don't really do much, but they find a way to get picked up. It's about watching your game play. Because we see guys that lead the NCAA in scoring have trouble getting drafted. I mean, just a few years ago, we had Chris Clemens, who was leading the NCAA in scoring, have trouble getting drafted. He was able to work his way up to the Houston Rockets roster and be able to put up some crazy games before busting his knee. And literally, if you go look on Hoops HQ, Bro, he's got videos of him dropping 50 in regular programs. He's overseas going crazy. Dropping 50 in the G League. Going insane. The talent is there. It's all about finding him the right fit. He's human. He's 5'9". I'll use all that to say, bro, Bronny James is not LeBron James. By using the same metrics to compare LeBron James, sure, we're going to be thoroughly disappointed. He went 55. Why are we worried about a dude that went number 55, bro? And granted, I want Bronny to be successful, but I think he should have took more time to prepare his mental to be ready. But let's look at these other guys that got drafted in the second round. 8.4 points. 15 points. 11. 9. 9. 20. I ain't gonna lie, AJ Mitchell is tough. 12 points. 13. 12. 19. 13. 12. 12. 11. 20. And he played, what, 5 years? 12. 17. 18. 14. 13. I personally don't think Bronny's numbers tell the full story, but look, plenty of these other guys' numbers don't tell the full story either. There's each and every year we see guys that come in from the league averaging certain things, and at the end of the day, you're in a new profile, in a new system, on a new pair of eyes. Not necessarily everything will translate. 9 points, 11, 20, 9, 13, 11, 14, 15, 19, 13, 15, 16, 14, 19. And look at your number one pick stats over the years. Like I'm saying, stats don't tell the true story. We've got guys that went from number 1 to number 58. Stats varied. We didn't see a bunch of guys averaging 30. We saw guys averaging anywhere from 7 to 20, right? Bronny, sure. I absolutely feel as if he needs more game reps. He needs more confidence. But I think the natural ability is there. He's no bum. But I think at the end of the day, everyone's evading the opportunity to really talk about why they don't see happiness, or why they can't seem to find happiness in the fact that LeBron James and his son are going to play together on the same uniform. Not sure. Maybe Bronny doesn't dress up for most games. Maybe he ends up in a starting position. At the end of the day, he's going to have to go out there and produce. I think it would have been amazing for him to get more reps in under his belt, specifically in games. But that's me. I don't also believe that there was much that he could have done in school. What is he doing in school? It's not really, I mean, you got to go to class. He's a millionaire going to class. Like I said, unless you're talking about something that he wants to pursue a post-basketball career, don't see the purpose of it. Getting there, getting reps in with NBA guys each and every day. You got yourself a guaranteed contract for the next 4 years to allow yourself opportunity to develop. And you're developing under the tutelage of your father. Night in and night out, you get to really see what it's like when this guy suits up to play against the best. You got Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, plenty of talent surrounding you, so that can ingratiate you in your first couple of years in the league, an opportunity to play against the highest level of scrutiny to start your career off. You will be prepared to jump off this launch pad to be successful. Like you said, is anyone saying he has to be LeBron James? No. Only y'all. Even Bronny himself has not ushered in that sentiment. I think we're just avoiding the fact of why are we really upset at this guy getting picked up.
I hope it is, but just accept it and move on. Part of the conversation we're having is that every single time any team that LeBron is on does decisions, and then there's a split in the community of some people acting as if like, well, LeBron ain't nothing doing to it. Oh my God, LeBron, look at the franchise just wasting away his talents, because that's literally what all LeBron James fans right now feel like the Lakers are doing, while not acknowledging any of the influence that LeBron has had on any of the decision making with the Lakers. But now, it's just a great story that he's playing with his son. But you all told me to believe that he had no influence on any decision making. Before the draft started, you got David Miniman talking about, well, Anthony Davis said he's fine with the pick of Bronny. That's how y'all frame it. And then get upset when people are overly critical on LeBron and the way he tries to shape narratives. Own it, move on. That's my thoughts.
The best player in the NBA. I don't know. Man, what we think in the comments? Oh my gosh. Nepotism is talked about more now than it's ever been. Nick Wright wishes he was Bronny James. Yeah, probably. I honestly wish a different team would have wasted a second on him so they could have tested Bronny could actually go and play in Australia and if they were bluffing. I mean, I don't see that Bronny couldn't have played in Australia. The Stephen A. Smith segment about advocating for nepotism while acknowledging how nepotism has actually been detrimental to entire communities throughout history was like a comedy sketch on how absurd it was. Literally defending the practice that can unfairly perpetuate inequality. Absolutely insane. No, I think he's just trying. I think he was more so trying to state that he could put everybody on equal footing. It's been unequally affecting a lot of people, but we have an opportunity now to present equal footing. I think that's what he was talking about. I think he missed the point. He's speaking from how he's a second-round pick. People acting like he went top 10. Bronny asked for attention, so why receive the backlash? National media did it. Yeah, exactly. Why are we hating on Bronny in regards to this? Bronny just was born. Y'all casted expectations upon him. He has his own expectations for himself. Bronny could win undrafted, signed with the Lakers, never played in the G League, and people would still be mad. Exactly. Exactly. No one is accepting the fact that they just are haters. Mike Jordan did this with one of his sons. We would never stop hearing about it. Yep. J.J. Redick not that long ago made a statement about along the lines of he's in the belief that just because someone had an easier path taken than others to achieve the ultimate goal, it should not be held against them. Do y'all talk about nepotism when we talk about Steph Curry? First of all, I mean, Steph and Seth are products of a guy that was in the NBA. Sure, we address Del Curry, but this whole nepotism thing, y'all upset about. When there's plenty of players, Klay Thompson. I mean, we can go down the list. The Gasol brothers, the Antetokounmpo brothers. But there's plenty of players that have ties directly in their own family. We got guys that are cousins in the NBA. I mean, we talk about Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter. Well, there's plenty of guys that have made it on the backs of somebody else. Because a lot of what goes into particularly the pro ranks is a lot of luck. A lot of he knows, she knows. Hey, look, I might get an opportunity to play with this team or an opportunity to sign an overseas deal or to get with this trainer or whatever, because I know this person. Whatever, bro. Ah, man, I had to get that right off my chest. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments below.